I have to add a second.
Might not turn this or updated one out there. Start whenever you want.
Thanks for coming. Call meeting to order. Rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Andy Lemoyne,
Here.
Art Grant.
Yep.
Michael Bennett.
Here.
Marvin Nash.
Present.
And Mike Somerville is absent.
Okay, approval of the agenda, and I would like to make a comment. I would like to add, Park and Rec Committee bylaws. Even though it showed up in the minutes, I think it would be a new business item. We're just getting started on that. Any objection to that?
What number do you want to add? Do you have a
Let's add
preference?
between 8 and 9. All in favor?
We need a motion
Yeah,
and a
we
support.
call for a motion, call for support, ask for
Motion.
discussion.
Mr. Chairman, motion that the agenda be accepted, including the addition of a parking committee bylaw to the agenda.
The Parks and Rec Committee?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes. Review of the minutes from April 1 and April 29. Start with April 1. Anybody have any comments or recommended changes for minute of April 1?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from April 1.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. April 29th, meeting minutes. Any comments or changes?
Mr. Chairman, motion to accept the April 29th Parks and Committee minutes. Second.
Then moved and seconded to accept the April 29th, minutes. Those approved, opposed, those favored?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Carries. Okay, now it's time for public comment. Anyone out here want to make a public comment?
Do I need to step up or can I just stay
No,
here?
I let-
This one's on
Right.
agenda items.
Yeah.
So,
And so on this, because, I assume she's just making the comment on the horse stuff, there's a public comment at the end that's just open to things.
Okay.
And so I would make that there.
Okay,
Perfect.
Just however you wanna run it, if you want her to emphasize that she come up or have the discussion with her sitting down there is fine. At your discretion.
okay. They can record you fine right where you're at, so go ahead.
Can I wait for the ending?
Oh, you want to wait
Yeah.
for the end?
I'll do the ending public comment, please.
All right,
Thank you.
all right. Then public comment is closed. Distribution of binders, everyone has these new binders. It's just a beginning here. They basically put the 5-year plan in there. You'll see blank dividers in there. And the intent is that as we begin to tackle issues in each of the parks, use one of those dividers to put anything related to the park in those. Any questions? Comments? Okay, we'll move on. Now, the maintenance report. And, sorry, I'm still.
Yes.
No, it's Justin, you're not. Thank you. So I'm just gonna read off what I have written here. Good evening, I'm Justin Grinnell, the new maintenance supervisor. We've been working hard to get the parks in good decent shape. And here's a brief list of some things that we've accomplished. I made a little list of different parks and things that have been done there. Eagle Field, been making the most progress at. And that's just a short list of it. The fence behind tennis courts, it was blown out at the bottom of it, kind of got that tightened up. My idea with this is before we actually invest some good money into parks, I want to get them in decent shape to start with, take care of what we have first. So that's kind of the logic behind this. Finally got a pump installed inside that building, so we have running water there, so we can use power washer, get that basketball court cleaned up and actually in good use. I'm in the process right now of getting 2 basketball hoops installed. I just talked to Playground Pros this morning. This was supposed to be done already, but there's some hiccups, so we're still rolling the ball line. So very excited about that. I removed a post in the sidewalk to make it handicap accessible. And currently working on fabric boards that I already had told you about. Catalpa, we've been keeping up on mowing, and eventually I would like to work on the boat launch this season there. We've got 3 boat launches in the township, and before I go and work on the other 2, I'd like to figure out exactly the best way to tackle these launches at Catalpa. And also, I'm gonna kind of skip forward here. At Hadley Park, we've got issue with parking, is what I'm hearing. So I've got a couple different ideas on how to make a little bit more parking space alongside of the road. We could go that route. We could put no parking signs. I don't know what's the best way to go about this yet. Also, to piggyback on this, because I'm all across the board. This is definitely not going to be an easy task, but I had an idea to possibly take out some of the hill at Hadley Park and make some more beach, so that way there's more room for people to be there if we do expand the parking lot. By all means, this isn't something I'm saying I'm gonna get this done, but if you guys work with me here, it's something that could be obtainable. I have no idea what that looks like yet, and I'd love to talk more and get some ideas with that. But to take some of the strain off from Hadley Park at the moment, it sounds like that's where everybody's going to swim. I had a thought of at Catalpa, possibly treating Goose Egg Lake, if that's something that the community would like to do and you guys support. That way, maybe people actually go swim at Goose Egg Lake and take some of the strain off Hadley Park. And then also at Catalpa, I'm going to be working on getting a sign out there so the public actually knows about this. A lot of people don't know about Catalpa Park. I haven't put any footwork in getting that done yet, but it's on my list. Okay, I'm kind of all over the place, so bear with me here. Also at Hadley, there's a erosion issue at the drain coming from the road down to the beach. Just keep on getting washed out. It looked like it's been a problem for years. I tried to tackle it by placing some big boulders right at the bottom of the drain. I'm kind of discouraged about this. It's not working the way that I thought. So, you have some work to do there. Yes.
In my past life, I was in charge of the drainage system for the city of Grand Rapids, and I
Okay.
dealt with soil erosion sedimentation control quite a lot.
Okay,
So, if you wish, I can come and maybe look at it and give you some direction.
I really appreciate that. Sounds like a good plan. I'll talk to you after the meeting here and figure out a good time to meet there.
Okay.
Thank you. Bike paths, we've been mowing it, started trimming trees. And looking forward to getting everything rolling. Please let me know if you have any concerns. Sorry about talking your ears off there.
Good.
And that's it.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Justin, it seemed like Padley is the most used park out of all the parks.
I think that Beagle would be, but Padley, I just discovered that it gets used quite a bit in the hot months. So I'm thinking probably be second. I don't know for sure,
Okay.
but
We do have baseball teams that use Beagle Field,
soccer.
there's
can
soccer,
be out there.
they
They just had a graduation
dogs,
party.
frisbee dogs. But yeah, we use the reserve the pavilion
Okay.
for family.
But it is very busy, it sounds like within this past week, especially with the heat. So,
Yeah. Padley's on the lakes.
Yep.
So
Could you expound on the issue of parking at Padley? You
so I
said,
had heard that there was people that were parked alongside so do you know where Padley Park is?
not really, no.
Not really, okay, so
I'm gonna
it's,
visit it, so
what's that?
I'm gonna have to go and visit. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I believe it's on Mill Lake Road, right?
It's on the south side of Westlake,
Alright,
almost at the direct bottom of Westlake.
It is on Middle Lake.
Mill Lake, thank you. So Mill Lake has a little S curve, and it's a very sharp S curve. And right along that curve, there's a little spot where we own alongside the road, then goes into the park. And people apparently are parking up on the grass or halfway in the road there. I guess that's been an issue for a long time, so I hear. So trying to figure out different ways to navigate that. We thought about no parking signs, and I also had an idea of maybe cutting back into the wood line where we own there and opening up some parking spaces that way. Again, this all brainstorming, to my understanding, is kind of what this is. It's like a brainstorming and getting ball rolling on things. So the reason I'm bringing that up. So yeah, it's right on the S curve of Mill Lake Road, and it's almost like a blind corner, if you will. So that's kind of part of the issue.
Okay. Well, thanks for explaining it.
Hopefully,
I'm gonna have to go visit, okay?
Yeah. It's a
I'm
little
a visual person anyway, so.
Yeah, I hear you.
Thanks, so.
A couple of weeks ago, I had heard that there was problem with one of the lights in Beagle Field,
Yes,
and so what has happened with that since?
that's been taken care of. So apparently, one of the residents that live across the street, they had seen that the light was on fire. And I had no idea about it until the next day we were out there mowing or doing something. I think we were mowing. And they came over and said, yeah, last night the telephone or the electrical wire was on fire, popping and just singing, I think was the word that they used. And then said, you look up on that post, you can see where it's singed. Sure enough, it was. So got a hold of our electrician, and he came out, and turns out that was a consumer's line. So they came out and took care of that. No fire since. So, yep, that was thankfully taken care of pretty quickly.
So since we're identifying locations of these places, where is Catalpa?
Catalpa is on just off from
White Lake Drive.
White Lake Drive, where kind of three different roads intersect. Right across from what's the name of it? The housing community out there.
Blue Lake, but
Yeah. It's not help drive. I know Washington's one of the crossroads.
That's fine, I can.
Goose Egg Lake. Do you know Goose Egg Lake?
Yeah.
Okay, can you describe this better than I can at the moment?
I believe it's Putnam Road that comes down.
Yes, Putnam.
Off of White Lake Drive, and then, so it's just on Goose Egg Lake.
Yeah,
Basically on the north, west section of Goose Egg Lake.
it's about a half a mile east of Russell Road.
Just past that, just east of that fire station.
Okay, thanks.
Goose Egg Lake is very weedy,
Yeah.
and doesn't get a lot of use like the other lakes, so that's why he was talking about the tree.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we treat it, if it'll be more inviting to swim in, because as it is right now, I don't even think I'd like to kayak in it. Although we have boat launch, I've seen people pull up with kayaks there. I've never seen a motorboat on there.
I would recommend you check with Eagle before you try to do any creation of a beach or any kind there.
There's
They may have some say in what goes on there.
Yeah, there's actually a pretty decent sandy beach there.
Okay,
So all that's already in place. The boat launch is there, and we've already gotten the okay to get
That's a non-motor lake though, right? That's.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm at.
It's not banned by the DNR, it's as far as the DNR list goes, it would be an all sports lake.
Really?
Yeah, you just wouldn't take a sport boat in.
Anybody who has any brains. Unless it's got a.
I did have the DNR check in.
Like I said, part of the reason I'm bringing it up is I had thought of it could take some of the strain off Padley. And plus, the community doesn't even, like Michael was saying, doesn't even know where it's at. I had no idea where it was at. Well, that was the actual park until I started the strap. I stumbled across it once and wow, it's a park, but I couldn't even find out the name. It's not even on Google Maps.
but I would guess that park is gonna get more and more desirable because we're getting more and more new homes in that area.
Yeah, there's a lot of developments back in there.
Yep.
Any other comments regarding the maintenance report? We'll move on to unfinished business. Update on M123 and dog station. Who's going to give that update?
So I guess I could
Okay.
give part of an update on it. The dog stations, which this is gonna be news to you guys. Up until recent history, I haven't seen much use. Finally, 2 weeks ago, I decided, I'm gonna swap out the back of this dog station to just see, and sure enough, there's actually something in there to my surprise. I was checking it visually, couldn't see anything until I pulled it out. So I had brush bag in 2 weeks ago. This morning I was went around, did the trash run, and I changed that bag and there was some in there. So it may not be making a noticeable difference for the mowing, but it is getting used by somebody. So I applaud whoever it is for using it properly.
What park is that at again?
This is at Duff. Which is just north of Twin Lake Cemetery, kind of around the bend.
And that those are labeled and so, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's labeled, it's a official looking setup.
Alright.
Bought specifically for that.
And then on the M120 Christmas tree, Jelinek is aware of working on a project. Apparently, oddly enough, the type of evergreen that we need, there's a shortage of in the larger sizes like we want. And so they said it's good to either plant it in the spring or the fall. That's the best survival rate. And so since they weren't able to get it early enough in the spring, wouldn't plant it when it's this hot out. And so they plan on planting in the fall. So I said, use the best judgment on the survivability rate. Have it in before Christmas so we can decorate.
Are they anticipating finding a large tree by then?
Yeah, they expect that they can get a 15 footer.
Thank you. New business, Parks and Recreation Committee apparently needs to have bylaws. And it was in the minutes from April 1st. One that dropped off my radar, but it got brought to my attention. I have been given a few examples of bylaws from different locations. And you're welcome to look at them, but just going through them quickly, I just recently got them. I prefer the one that's right now for the City of Traverse City Parks and Recreation bylaws, because they're short and simple. And I prefer short and simple. But these other ones, I may scan through them and may want to make some minor changes or additions to it. And what I would like to propose is that after I've done that, is then put together a draft for our next meeting. So I'll pass these along and think I'll,
We can make copies if somebody wants hard copies, or I can scan them and email them to everyone.
That'd be great.
yeah, why don't you scan them and email them to everyone? And then I'm open to, I don't know how it will work at Open Meeting Act. I'm open to comment as I'm putting together this draft, but I don't know if I can be.
Online copy, so when somebody responds, it doesn't respond to everybody.
Okay,
And then we can get all the comments to you.
okay, I would appreciate that. Yep, I'll keep these for now.
I can scan them if it's.
So you can send out a copy of what he's got and we can respond.
Yep.
Back to that one.
Back to the original email. We can keep Randy in the loop.
I'd like to, I'd like to just comment that I like the idea of short and sweet, even though let's not make it too complicated unless we need to. But question for whoever legality wise. So if Randy comes up with something that he thinks is good, he can put it all together and then for our next meeting, we could review it and approve it, correct?
Correct, yeah, and so you could do it like that on that schedule, or you could look at a draft in the September, you'll look at some sort of draft in the September meeting anyways. And if you can't come to a good enough consensus, or if there's too many changes that need to be made, then you can go make those changes and bring it back to the next meeting with the draft.
All right, that's what I'm saying. So he can send out a draft. We just can't comment altogether.
Right, you can't just have the discussion.
Right.
Because of the open meeting.
But we can review it far ahead of time rather than.
And then when we come to our next meeting, I can comment on everybody's comments at that point. And
And hopefully have answers for it. That way potentially you could pass it just right in the September meeting.
So just to clarify, so if he emails it out, we can respond and it'll come to you, not to the whole group.
Right.
And then you can feed that back to Randy.
Yep.
All right, okay.
I like that.
Yeah, and I have electronic versions of those put on schedule.
Okay.
No business on that for today. Goal setting.
Maybe this is a good time for me. So, I forgot to mention one thing in my little minutes here, so maybe this is a good spot to plug this in. Beagle Field, the playground equipment there, we really need to do something about the playground there. Sooner than later. The slides in pretty rough shape, monkey bars in pretty rough shape, and I found out that it was from McMillan Elementary years ago, so I actually played on that playground as a kid. So it's been well loved, but we really should try to see if we can get approval into updated playground equipment there. That's something I would really like to push for.
I have a question for,
Yeah.
here. With regard to something like that, that sounds like a capital expenditure. Is that something that we need to then concern about budget at all, or do we just?
Correct. Yeah. If you don't mind, I'll jump in right here on a couple of these things. So like that Beagle Playground is a big one. We talked about the Padley parking is a big thing. Goose Egg, its own big thing, so much. And then, well, and then one of the four things are the horses and the bikes, which is kind of messy because of all the organizations involved. Maybe the most messy out of those four things. But so those types of things, especially so Beagle Playground, take that for instance. What I would like to happen on this, and obviously I'll be leaving office in the middle of this, right? But how I think this should go is you start working on an idea of kind of what you guys envision, what you think is reasonable, because it has to go into a budget. Now, I mean, I've seen playgrounds that don't seem amazing. They're not made out of gold. And they sell them for like $500,000, right? It's ridiculous. We can't fit that in the budget. But also what you can actually get for $20,000 is not as much as you would think you should be able to get in a playground.
Yeah.
And so working with those, look at some quotes, Justin can reach out, get some quotes together, stuff like that. You can see that in the September meeting, we have a joint session on schedule between the different boards. You'll be invited to that. Not everyone can make it because we have, over a dozen people, less than 2 dozen people, somewhere in there. But a fair amount of people can go to that meeting, and then we get cross communication, and that can be on the list. I ask people what they want to be on the list. That can be one of the items that's discussed as well. And then hopefully in the December meeting, coming to some sort of recommendation on, it seems like this number might work to go into the budget. We might be able to work with this or this company, something coming together a little more, so that by the time we get into next budget season through the spring, and then the budget starts on April 1st, but through the spring and the budget is finally approved in March, you have some sort of solid recommendation of we think we should budget 40 grand this year for this type of play set in this budget season. That's your recommendation to the board, whatever it happens to be, right? That's just an example. And so something like the playground is almost a perfect example of that.
Is there any budget information in this 5-year plan at all that we can work off from, or is it?
So there is, but it's highly projected. One of the issues with that, especially in this type of organization, is there's some sort of reasonable projection put in place by the people that currently hold power and authority in the township at the time. As those people change and as the debate changes among the board from year to year, that budget does not have to follow that. It's certainly not set in place. So Steve made it up in some sort of reasonable way. We included it as some sort of percentage increase, but I can't remember what it was. And so the budget will be a debate among the board every year to a fair extent. I'm guessing a decent amount of weight will be given to your opinion. And so you'll have probably more influence in actuality than the Parks and Rec plan.
So it looks like that's on page 9. It talks about budget year, Parks and Rec, cemeteries, and then it gives the last few years, probably the money that was spent and projected going forward. Is that?
Right. Yep. And then, I mean, the thing with that, when you get into some sort of large capital expense, one of these projects might throw that off. You could have some sort of spike or inconsistent year as well. And so that's a debate to be had at the time. You're not necessarily sticking with that number. You're sticking with whatever was passed in the budget up that year up to that point.
And then anything that we decide on is merely a recommendation to the township board.
Correct.
And the board has to make the final decision.
Correct. So, and then it's decently unclear exactly how that will work moving into next year. What I've done, I think it's decent practice, is to include some line items. So we have the number of what's going to be done, but then a little note of this is going towards this, right? Nice and clearly laid out, and then it's slotted in there. And if it's budgeted in there like that because of our expenditure policy on this, then we can move forward with that. Then we can have staff, we can have Justin buy some stuff, make some projects happen. And so it would be nice if that were to occur. So essentially you'd make a recommendation, the board include it, And then once we're in new budget season, it can be moved forward with staff.
I understand how that works.
Yeah.
When I worked for the city of Grand Rapids, I had to put together a budget every year for the stormwater management. And so I had to maintain a list of all the problems, and I would list them and I'd give them my priority, and then that would go up to staff ladder. And that's how it got incorporated into the budgets.
Yeah, similar, just smaller organization, but yeah, similar idea. And so, I mean, let's go into goal setting / current year projects, but this switches over a little bit. So Eagle Playground is one big one. I think it would make sense planning for. And then Justin's really gonna need some of your opinion and input on like Hadley parking versus Goose Egg Lake treatment. And both those are gonna somewhat hit on public opinion and political note, because Hadley, and just as an example, when I was reading through various stuff here, back in the 1960s, I found a letter about a land dispute along the border of Hadley Park, which involved a barbed wire. So it's not a recent issue. There's always some sort of issue, as you're always going to have with these types of things. That one I just find funny, but that if we're going to be expanding parking there and chopping down some of those trees to clear some of that area, some people are probably really going to want that. Some people are probably really be opposed to it. So I think it's decent to look at some plans and we can get together some maps. I think it's 1.5 acres, something like that, or just under that. So it could hold some decent parking, but it is directly next to a house as well. You know, so there's something to consider there. And then the Goose Egg Lake treatment, because on Twin Lake, West Lake, Middle Lake, and North Lake, we do treatments, but those are all special assessments of the people that own properties around the lake. And so it essentially passes through the township to a treatment company that we make a contract with. The township has the ability to make a contract with one of those without a special assessment being in place, but it would be disconnected from essentially our precedent that we've set with the other lakes.
Right.
So do we want to do that with Goose Egg? Do we want to attempt to go through a special assessment process? I've had some talks with people about it, but no one's done a petition or anything like that. PLM, the company we use, said that they sent a mailer to the property owners around Goose Egg Lake to see if there's any interest in treating it. And I haven't heard that they got back on that. So, but if we could promote Catawba, it's a much larger area. It could hold a lot more people at a beachfront than Padley. Padley is very small. When you go by Padley, if you're driving by it for the first time looking for it, you could miss it. It's small. It's a little patch.
My other committee members here, if you go to the 5-year plan on page 18, there's a map that identifies many of the parks. Now, I know it's hard to tell which are township parks and which are they got Michigan Adventure and Duck Lake Resort it's showing there, so it's hard to tell which are which, but.
Well, we don't own either one of those.
Yeah, I know. But
It would be cool.
that
I can't imagine no
can
problem.
help you begin to get a feel of where we're talking about.
That's great. Yeah, and so what I would like to see, and I know you got a few different things to visit, including the meeting schedule and whatnot, and the talk on horses coming up too. But it's some sort of direction or what you would like to see from Justin in the September meeting, as far as like Hadley parking, Goose Egg Lake treatment, Eagle Playground. If you think something's a dumb idea, obviously I'm not gonna be offended by that opinion. I mean, be like, it's not worth pursuing treating Goose Egg Lake, that's fine. If you're like, oh, that seems like a genius idea, then it's reasonable to move forward with it too. So, I mean, the idea of the committee is that you have a wide variety of experience and knowledge, and hopefully can lend some of that to advise the organization. And largely Justin. Justin will be here next year, right? So in the next budget, you'll be working with him still on that. I won't be.
I would like to recommend that in the maintenance report that we go park by park by park.
Okay, so kind of like what I did there.
You did it.
Do a little bit better.
Yeah.
Across the board.
That's good. That's good direction, because he's been debating that. He was asking me, should he break it down all by park, or should he do like more of a general statement? So
So I just felt bad because like I said, I've been really trying to focus at Beagle Field because
Mhm.
I believe that's our most utilized park. So the our gym that then also at the same time keep up on the other ones and improve wherever we can. But Beagle is where I've been trying to spend most of it.
So do we have anything more with goal setting at this point?
I'd just like to add that, when Justin made a statement saying that the equipment needs to be upgraded. The first thought I had was, what's the potential injury of someone, children coming to play?
On the current equipment, you're saying?
And what's the liability to the township?
So for the injury aspect of it, there's a slide that the bottom of the slide is broken off. Kind of pest. I'm not say don't quote me because I can't say for sure, but probably a sharp edge at the bottom of the slide. The monkey bars, the layer going up to it, one end is completely unhooked. I tried welding that together, I couldn't weld it strong enough to melt the actual post. So as soon as I unclamped it from the ratchet strap that I had to fuse it together to weld it, as soon as I undid that, it popped right out. And I haven't had the chance to revisit that, but it's in rough shape.
Do you think that some of that equipment, since it's in a dangerous situation, should it just be removed?
I went and I put caution tape around it, but possibly at least the monkey bars removed, can assess the slide. I'd hate to take out that slide because
I understand.
At least possibly just the ladder.
Yeah.
So he spent like half a day trying to weld that thing.
Yeah.
And that play set, from what I understand, comes from the old McMillan School when McMillan School was shut down. And so it got moved there, so it had already been used before that. So it's been around a while. We held off on last year because we put in for a large grant, that if that grant came through, everything at Eagle was gonna change anyways. But with it not coming through, now we should definitely start tackling some of that.
Now, I'm thinking there's quite a few elementary schools that are closed in various districts, and maybe there might be some equipment there that we can possibly look at.
Yeah, if we could get something from someone else, I mean, we could still pay for it, just if we could get a smaller amount that way, rather than a new set. Because we looked, a previous treasurer, she had looked up numbers for some play sets, and she came up with one that I didn't think was extravagant. And I was like, oh, that looks decent, but it was $86,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, all right, well, what other options do we have?
I feel like with public space in the same thing. We're astonished by the prices. And I think it's all got to do with liability.
Yep.
Yeah, the one we did out at Catawba, the reason we were able to put it in pretty economically is because a guy I know cut the old metal stuff out of there, so I got that done for free. And then McCormick gave us a decent price on scooping some dirt out, putting some sand in. And then we ordered a really nice set off of Amazon and had our maintenance put together and put it out there. And so that total project stayed under $20,000. It's a little less used park and less people were interested in that one, so I was able to just kind of move forward with it on my own. And so we were able to get that one in fairly economically. But if you want to do something bigger than that, it's impossible to cover those price ranges basically.
Anything else on goal setting? Okay. Current year project. And I'm not sure that was out. We kind of talked about the M120.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Was there anything special that was thought of there?
I don't think so, other than we do have money budgeted for this year.
Yes.
So if there was, something, I think what 30,000 is in my head. So if there was something that, you wanted to direct Justin to go forward with, in the current year, And then, that bring back to you in September for approval. That's something that is possible.
Yeah, we can definitely get, some stuff, Justin's cranking through some stuff already anyways, especially smaller things, smaller money amounts and whatnot, I direct them to move forward. We don't wanna hold everything up. And also, Justin brought this up before, if we don't buy, because we budgeted for a larger tractor, moving snow, some of that stuff, if we don't utilize that in the quarterly budget adjustments, which we'll see in July for the board, we can move that money into some of the park stuff and maybe get some more accomplished with that and put on and stay with the large residential tractor. So.
I'm willing
Is there anything that could be done by somebody who had more skills? Not that I'm picking on yours. I know I wouldn't try to weld anything, but is there something that could be done by somebody that knew,
So
that had
for
the right tools and whatnot, that could go out there and arc weld that thing
it's possible,
and fix it, make it safe?
it's possible.
Fine.
Underneath the platforms of them, it's not cracked, but there's like some hairline type cracks underneath the platforms.
Forms of.
But the playground, like the steps, platforms, if you will. So, and those, they're not detrimental at this moment. It's just, you can see the age of it. But by all means, if you guys all want to come out there, meet up one day and take a look and we'll discuss it. Is that something that we can do?
You can do it. So if you do it as a board, we have to post it, or as a committee, we have to post it for the Open Meetings Act. But if you just did it individually, someone just got a hold of you and said, hey, let's check this thing out, then that's no big deal.
Okay,
Do that whenever.
so individually, I'll go out there one-on-one, show you it. I think that's a good way to make some groundwork on it.
Sure.
Just by no means do I want to just go out there and,
Yeah, we
oh, I need to get a new playground out here. It's not that, it's just, I'm looking at it. I think it could
Yeah,
be
it's something that could be welded and made secure and safe.
Yep.
Like some of those hairline cracks you're talking about, if some little girl falls on that and gets her hair in there, that could be detrimental to that poor kid.
just our needs of it, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay, so under your project, as individual members are gonna get with Dustin and check out urgent projects that might be around. And those will be, we'll talk about them as being current projects
Sounds
at your
good.
next meeting. A meeting schedule, there's one in the agenda packet here at the back. What the tentative schedule is.
So because this committee has up to 7 meetings in a calendar year, I put together the next 4. You've had 2, so that leaves 1 possible special meeting available through December if it was needed. And then in December, you can set the schedule for 2025 and have either all of them scheduled, have 6 scheduled and 1 available for a special meeting.
Or just schedule 4 and have the other ones available if needed,
Yeah,
whatever you decide at that point.
is we don't do a joint session in the spring, do we? It's only October.
I've only been doing them in the fall.
That's what I thought.
I could change with the new board, but when I talked with everyone initially the first year, everyone said, I think once a year is good. So that's how we have that.
Now, this special meeting, the election is in November. Is it likely that the new supervisor will want a special meeting?
I would doubt that this will be a priority of the new supervisor. So if you had a meeting in December at some point, I mean, the earliest the new supervisor can be sworn in is November 20th. So there you're only about a month away. So I don't think there should be any type of emergency meeting with the new supervisor.
No, get his feet wet first.
So do we need to approve the schedule?
Yes.
Yeah.
If we could get a motion in a second.
So a question before we do that. So is there going to be a joint session meeting in October?
Yeah, somewhere in October. I have it written down on my schedule to message people and schedule it in, I think, the first or second week of July. I planned on emailing people, kind of like I've done the last few years.
So not counting this meeting, there would be 3 more this year, based on this calendar.
Yes.
Yep.
One floating around where we haven't decided.
If you want to have it. So the way we,
You don't have to have.
right, the way we adjust the resolution is you just have to have between 4 and 7 meetings. So if you want to just have 4 here, that's completely fine. If you want to use all 7, that's completely fine.
Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the meeting dates as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board and public comment.
My name is Melissa DeWitt. I go by Mel, and I am the board director. Hey, this is my cohort, Melissa DeHaan, the 2 Melissas. Hi. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm a board director for Michigan Horse Council. I also serve on the board for Muskegon County Trail Riders Association, and am the founding member of the new Ottawa County Equestrian Trail Riders Association. We're very thankful for the Dalton Equestrian Park. It is utilized immensely, especially in the wintertime, because it is a safe place for us to ride. There's no hunting, it's specifically equestrian. From time to time, we have and find people on there with motor vehicles, but generally they didn't know. Yeah, generally they didn't know and are nice to get off our trails, but in working with the Muskegon County Trail Riders Association the last 6 months, I have been utilizing my time to reach out to different entities, townships, clubs, Lakewood Club, to ask for permission to ride on public parcels. And Dalton being one of them, because we have the horse park. And I would just like to be able to expand the amount of trails that we have there for some of our riders. We do have quite a bit of distance riders. I personally ride for distance as well. And so mileage is a huge thing for me. In saying that, Fred Meyerberry Junction Trail has been been quite a conundrum, but we're working on that, working on some clarification to figure out what is allowed, what isn't allowed. If we are not allowed access, how can we get access? Because I really feel that everybody deserves a safe place to enjoy what they do during their time off. Bicyclists, they deserve to have a safe place to bike. Horses deserve to have a safe place to ride, and walkers, hikers, I think we should all do good things and have fun doing it. So I'm excited. If there's anything that is of concern, please feel free to reach out to me, because Muskegon County Trail Riders Association has kind of absorbed the Dalton Horse Park as far as trail trimming, talk to Justin, maintenance, things like that. So we try to self-regulate that park so that we're not taking any time. But Justin has kindly offered to, if there's something that we just cannot take care of, such as a large tree or something else, that he would be willing to do that. But yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself, and she came in at the great time too, Melissa DeHaan. And so, yes.
When I was a child, I raised horses.
Yeah.
And I was in 4-H, and trail riding was my favorite. I didn't there to show me. Of course, I like trail riding.
That's me.
Um, with regard to the bike trails and all, generally the horses would prefer to go on a dirt trail rather than paved trail.
Uh-huh.
Is there a discussion or have they looked at creating a dirt trail alongside the bike trail?
At this point, I think we're just trying to figure out the jurisdictions and the ordinances, and we're trying to dig through all of that because no one seems to have a paper copy of anything that is to do with that. And so that's how Muscatawa Trail works. We ride along the side. We don't want to ride on the pavement. It's not good for our horses' feet. And quite frankly, a lot of us don't enjoy getting down to kick off the poop.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna ride to the side. The Hart Montague, we are allowed on a section of that, but once again, we have made our own trail on the side that we self-regulate and self-maintain and utilize. Snowmobiles also utilize that as well, but, so, yeah. We're not to that point yet. We're trying to cross the initial bridge to see what the bread and butter is.
With the current trails that you use, are there any postings saying that this is for equestrian trails or?
For the Dalton Horse Park,
Yes.
yes, there is a
Yes.
welcome kiosk there. I have placed an updated map. There's a couple other things in the kiosk, just informational stuff. But there is also a sign that says Dalton Horse Park right as you pull in.
Okay.
Yeah, the sign was created by the Boy Scouts as part of an Eagle Scout project in 1991. And we took the sign down a couple of years ago. It was mounted to one of the oak trees by the entrance and it was split. And was in pretty bad shape, and we had one of our local woodworkers at the time volunteer his time and cleaned it up and remounted it on a marine grade board for the back, and then redid the entire sign and sent it back to us. Yeah, it's quite nice.
Help me understand, some of the trails are the multi-use trails. For example, you have cyclists on the same side as
In the horse park? So the horse park, it's Dalton Equestrian Trail, Dalton Horse Park, but it's non-motorized. So hikers use it. I haven't seen any cyclists out there, but it's not really cycle friendly. The terrain is not, it's usually heavy sand. A lot of like exposed tree roots and things that aren't very friendly for the bikes. But typically in the wintertime, there's cross-country skiers, people that walk their dogs or just hiking, and the equestrians. It's not motorized.
Thank you.
So is there any maintenance required right now from the Dalton Township? Because it's in our parks plan.
I mean, I think that we could use a decent mounting block out there. Right now, I know that we're using a bench, like a 3-stepper, build maybe a wood one. I know we had talked about that with Muskegon County Trail Riders Association as well. So, and I know that we removed some of the hitching posts as well, because they were starting to get cracked and falling apart, and
They're 1991 era projects.
So you need new hitching posts.
we would love to have hitching posts and a mounting block.
Do you have, is your parking facility adequate for what you're doing? You have enough room for trailers and unloading and loading?
I think as long as people are smart about how they use the parking lot, we've had quite a few rigs in that parking lot for some events that or get-togethers that we've done. It's definitely not something that you're gonna fit 35 rigs in. But I think it is acceptable at this time, and I don't really feel like there's
no room for expansion.
Yeah.
Really, it's the parking lot takes up the road front area. So it's kind of maximizing the area already.
Right.
I think the big things for the parking lot are, perhaps winter plowing. That is significant for us because if we can't get to the parking lot in the wintertime, we can't use it. And so I know my husband has gone over a couple of times with his plow Jeep and has plowed it. I know Melissa's had a couple of services out there to plow it in the past where we've just paid for it. I guess the other thing is the porta-john
Yes,
for maintenance needs.
yeah, we're very thankful for that, so thank you for
Yes, the
providing that.
The porta-john is wonderful.
Can I talk about the correct wording here, mounting plaque? That's very step up, yeah, of course, right?
Yes.
When I hope it's okay that I talk about, when I first got this job, one of my ideas that I had was make a handicap accessible ramp to, I think that fall in the same category as mounting plaque. Is there anything, would that be something that would be helpful there? Like,
I know that some of our state parks have wheelchair ramps for such use. I mean, for Dalton, I'm not sure if we're at.
I don't think it would be a bad idea because the trails at Dalton are very beginner friendly.
Yes.
They are not, they're not complex in the difficulty of the trails. They're nice, they're wide, they're open. When we
Mostly
first cut them, the requirement was that they had to be wide enough to get an emergency vehicle down them. And so we made sure that everything had been trimmed back to that requirement. And when we were promoting the park within the community a few years ago, it was that this is a beginner-friendly trail. Your kids can come here, your families can come here. There's no, big hills that they have to worry about. There's not traffic that they have to worry about. There's just nice, open, sandy, for the most part, flat trails. So that was a big point for a lot of the families to come to Dalton and ride those trails.
And when speaking about Dalton to others across the state, when I go on my gallivants, Dalton, they are perfect. They really are. The footing is always great. I don't know that I've ever been there where it has not been great. And there are some parts where it gets so clay soaked and slippery and just a mess. And
You can't ride the
you can't ride the trails. And so, Dalton is just kind of a really hidden gem almost right now.
And
It's a great place for young horses. I mean, horses can always get themselves in trouble, but generally it's manageable at Dalton. Generally people don't get lost. It's easy to navigate. Like I said, young horses, their first trail experience, you're not gonna find a lot of, stuff that you would find on other trails. There is wildlife. We'd love to see that. And that's kind of a big selling point too for that because there's a big herd of deer and they know us and we know them and we just ride on by. But it is friendly. It's family friendly. People don't go there to party. People go there to just ride.
Mhm.
And it's safe. And that's the biggest thing is it's safe.
most of the equestrian trails around the state are typically on state land, DNR land, or federal national forest land, which are open to hunting during hunting season. And I guess one of the riders for insurance for Dalton when we were evaluating that again a few years ago was that it had to be no hunting in order for the insurance to cover the area. I guess just because of the additional risk. So so that's another one of the points that bring people to Dalton in the fall, is that it's no hunting. And they can just go and wander through the woods and enjoy the beautiful fall sights and the
That's
nice
gorgeous.
crisp air. It is beautiful. If you're a fan of beach trees and the colors that the beaches turn in the fall, you'll love Dalton. It's stunning out there. And it brings people in. It does, it brings people in.
So you have hitching posts out there, but they need to be replaced, correct? And you do not have mounting blocks.
No, there's a makeshift bench out there right now. The board is kind of sagging, but that's what we've used for years.
There's another one out in the center of
Oh,
the
yep.
of the trail. There's like a nice, like an open area, and it's been used as like a group picnic area. There are a couple benches out there also, and they're of that same era. They would also need replaced.
So tell me the financial end of that. It seems like that would be a pretty cheap.
I think those projects we can probably just move forward on and almost at Justin's discretion. I don't spend a fortune on them. The only thing is the mounting block for the handicap one, depending on what that comes to, I have no idea. You know, I mean, a normal mounting block, I assume, isn't too expensive, right? It's a small set of stairs essentially. The handicap one, I assume, is more expensive, but I have no idea what more expensive means in that context. But yeah, I think you're right. Those are all projects that we can probably just move forward on.
Well, and based on what you're both saying, it doesn't seem like maybe the handicap one would really be necessary in that location.
I think. I'm sorry.
I think it's always a good idea, but
Mounting block first.
Right, a mounting, for sure a mounting block, but I think if we had a wheelchair accessible mounting block, it would open the trail up to a whole nother group of riders. I know there are a couple of different handicap riding programs in the area, and right now they're limited, the riders are limited to arena riding that would like to get out and do more, and I can attest that a couple of years ago, I would have used that handicap wheelchair ramp to get on my horse to go out and ride. But we had one at home.
and I have pictures too that we've used at Elk Hill. The Elk Hill up in Vanderbilt has a beautiful wheelchair accessible ramp. I know they also have one, I think, at
Silver
Waterloo,
Creek.
Silver Creek. We could definitely get you guys pictures. You know, just so that you have an idea, because I know that all, you know, to have a wheelchair ramp for those, they all have to be ADA and,
Right.
you know, built to spec, so.
And what we could do is look at a fairly cheap version of the mounting block, and then if the handicap one is, you know, is low 5 figures or something
Right.
very high, we can look at deciding if we're gonna budget that in later on and take it in steps like that. I mean, if the handicap one ends up being, you know, $1,000 more, I assume it's probably more than that, but if it ends up being $1,000 more or something, then, you know, we might be able to just move on anyways.
There's a riding stable just east of our township hall here, and they work with young kids that are special needs and so on. So they would be good to talk to them, see what they think about that.
I'm sure there would absolutely be
I can talk to Rachel and ask her if she has, because I work with them often.
Yeah.
And I can talk to her and see if she thinks that would be an opportunity for them as well, if they could take their lessons out there.
Yeah, last summer, my granddaughter worked for them cleaning stalls and stuff.
Yeah. Good job.
It is a good experience for the kids. for
Yes,
sure.
it is.
Yeah.
Right now, they're 4-H and they're at the Montcalm
Yeah, all the fairs.
right now.
Yeah.
Mounting blocks would you anticipate? Because you talked about maybe 2 in the open picnic area.
There's 2 benches that we use for makeshift mounting blocks where you just kind of climb up on the bench and urge your horse over and try to, you know, hop up if they're willing. But, you know, perhaps a mounting block out there. Because once you get done with lunch, if you have the tall monsters like I do, it's really hard
And it's
to
hard on their
stretch
backs
to
too.
get up on those.
Yeah, when you're cranking down on their backs trying to mount from the ground, it throws them all out of whack.
Okay, so back to her question, are you thinking 2?
Yeah, I would think that would suffice, and we can go from there. Yeah, one in the parking area, yeah,
What's
that
the
would be great.
average size of them? I don't know amount. I know what mountain block is, but I have the idea.
I have one at home, it's about 3 by 3.
Okay.
It's the 3 by 3 platform with a step that goes up to it on one side. And then horse can stand wherever they want to, and I can still get on them.
Simple enough.
And if you would like us to meet you out there sometime to show you, location or, whatever, please just let us know. We're always looking for a reason to ride.
So you also said something about needing a porta-john out there.
We already have one.
Oh, you have?
Yep, we have
Just-
one.
They're being thankful.
I was thinking,
Oh.
that's very nice.
Okay.
So do we need to make a motion to push that forward, or can Justin just start doing that?
I think we're good, because we don't have anything specifically for you to recommend to the board anyways. So we can do things that make sense in the budget as it currently sits. If we do find out though that like the handicap accessible one is more expensive, then Justin can bring it back to you to look at, bring it to the board to recommend into the next budget.
Maybe that's a next year thing.
That would be the other thing I'd like to suggest would be maybe come September, October, we're gonna start looking at our budget. So recommendations from you would be appreciated.
Absolutely. I think between her and I and the rest of our board, we will be here.
We could put a list and
Mhm.
an estimate together of needs and costs. Sure, we could do that.
I noticed that looking at my map, there's quite a bit of land south of there as well that isn't being used. That something that the board never discussed about adding to the horse trail.
South of there.
I think I like how Mark's talking.
I'm not sure, I think of the township owned land north of there and underneath the village and wrapping up around to the east side of the village. But
Am I looking at the right one? This trail's west of 31?
Michelinda is
yeah, west of
awesome.
31, just north of Michelinda, the northern part of Michelinda there.
Now, the other thing I know, my wife is on the, she's actually the chairperson for the planning commission, or Lakewood Club. And they are trying to look at section 6 and would like to preserve some of that area of section 6. Now, we got other people that want it all developed, and so there's some battles going on.
Right.
But there's also discussion about wanting to connect with the bike trail in some fashion or another. And so I would recommend you talk with my wife and work with her on what can be done. And then we would have to work with Lakewood too, because, they would have.
I just think it would be amazing to be able to connect all of this, and then if it ends up being that we do get access and we are allowed onto the Fred Meyer Berry Junction on the side, I mean, we could ride to lunch at Half Moon. We could go up to White Lake Drive and get an ice cream cone. I mean, people love destination riding. And we have so many equestrians in this area, it would be utilized.
I know at one point in time, when was the master plan updated? It was,
We just did it again now, so it would have been right about 5 years ago.
okay, when we were working on that, one of the things that we had discussed were, for example, like non-motorized linear parks through the community. And I know we didn't get a chance to really do a whole lot with it because there were other things that took up time and resources, but that's still something that, we could discuss and put a proposal together if you're interested in that as well.
And the township doesn't own, at least on the map I have, doesn't own land south of Michelinda there, so there wouldn't be a good spot to expand it. On the other side of the highway there is, but.
I'm talking about north of Michelinda.
Right. All of that is the horse trail. It's a large amount of land.
But what's actually dotted horse trail on this map, so maybe I'm just.
Yeah, all of that township land north of Michelinda there is horse trail as far as the township is concerned.
Okay.
Dearborn Road is.
May I come and show you my map?
Sure.
Okay. So this is, I don't know if this is the same one, Mr. Grant, that you're looking at. This is my Onyx. Oh, yep, perfect.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah,
Talking
so,
about all this down here.
yep. So what we've actually done is there is other trails in through there.
Oh, they're just not.
They're just not mapped. Yeah, and
Okay.
this is the area right here.
Yes.
But essentially, what I would love to do and be able to do is to connect all of this all the way up to White Lake Drive. Down to McMillan. So.
So
we
to
just
achieve
feel-
that, what do you have to do?
Well, I've been,
Each.
yes, I've been reaching out and attending board meetings for each entity, Muskegon Conservation District, Fruitland Township, Dalton Township, which we've already had. We have a great working relationship because of the horse park. And Lakewood Club, Whitehall Township, and we've all been approved to be on those parcels. So now it's just linking it safely and keeping us off Whitehall Road.
So that's where we get into the weird jurisdiction stuff she was
Yes.
mentioning before.
Yes.
And that, so she'd written a letter that it brought to the Berry Junction Trail Commission and advocating for that. And it was coming from our horse trail going north of there, along the bike trail. And that's right where it crosses over. Right where the bike trail crosses Michelinda is the line between the townships, between us and Fruitland. So going north into the Fruitland section. And so that commission is out. There's a whole huge history, I have a couple of boxes of paperwork on it. But that commission has some authority over this trail. Other entities also influence it, including the local municipalities on their own, and then the DNR in an odd way. And so the motion was made by Fruitland to deny it, because they were worried about cleanup, they were worried about horses being spooked by bikes, bikes being spooked by horses, that type of stuff, various potential problems. So I had said that because it was proposed in Fruitland's section, I would follow Fruitland's lead. And then the other people agreed with Fruitland anyways. And so it was denied by the Trail Commission, the Bike Trail Commission. And then the DNR said that it was allowed because of a note they had. And I asked them just to show me where the note came from, and they couldn't find it. So then they said that it's actually denied by the DNR as well. And so I don't think either one of us are clear. I'm not sure the DNR is clear on where the DNR is on this. But, and so essentially, this was my recommendation to
Right.
Melissa, that she kind of has to get, to convince Fruitland to try to convince the commission to allow it, and the bike commission would be taken care of that way. So those are two big steps. And then if that was supported, then whatever process the DNR needs, I assume would be a major hassle but could potentially be gone through. As of now, as it stands now, those are the two groups that have denied it.
Well, and at this point too, why I even questioned it is because on the GIS DNR map of the rail trails that the DNR owns, it specifically states on that map that equestrians are allowed from McMillan Road to White Lake Drive. Where did they come up with that? Where is the paperwork? Because I'm sure that the woman that made the map and made the note of that allowance did not just
Right.
create it.
It's on a charter somewhere.
It's gotta be somewhere. So that's kind of where the lines are blurred a little bit as to what's allowed and what's not.
Yeah.
So,
It's messy.
yeah.
The commission is messy.
By ignorance again.
So we had an opinion by the North Muskegon lawyer just on who's responsible for the bike trail. And I sent in about an inch of paperwork. And other municipalities did as well. Laketon's on that commission, even though none of the trail goes through Laketon because of an old political thing when it was originally set up. And how the lawyer got back, which took months, how the lawyer got back on like the responsibility trail, well, repairing issues, right? Potholes or whatever it may be, because I run into that type of thing, is that the commission has responsibility for it. And the individual municipalities probably have a higher responsibility for their areas. And then Dalton and Muskegon Charter probably have a slightly higher responsibility because they signed original documents. Although I can only find the one that Muskegon Charter signed and not the Dalton one, even though I went through my 2 boxes of paperwork. But so, yeah, so it's odd. It's an odd entity.
There's many gears working in that area. So I know that I'm waiting for some clarification from my contacts. Just trying to get it cleaned up. Because we would like to have access. We have a private, we have permission to use a private property. A church has allowed us to use their parking lot, their back parking lot as a staging area. So we wouldn't be having to use any of the trailheads and clog up the areas there with our rigs. So, you know, we've offered to pay and post signage, trail etiquette signage, alerting that this is a multi-user section of this trail. You know, most people understand, most trail users understand that horses have the right of way. And you know, it's just as long as you communicate, you know, hi, how you doing? Great day for a ride. Do you mind if you stop your bike while we pass? It's very simple. So that's where we're at with all that.
Well, you educated me just in that comment, because I would have had no idea.
No,
Okay. I never knew horses had right of way.
Even on the roads.
I'd have waved and.
Yep, yes.
Michigan,
I remember that from my days of trail riding, that
But it makes
yes, the
sense.
horses came first before the motorized vehicles.
That's how.
Michigan just passed, horses being vulnerable users on roadways to be included with, pedestrians, bicyclists. So it's now a federal offense if you injure or kill a horse or a rider.
Along with bicyclists and any, you know.
Yeah, this in addition to the other vulnerable users.
That's all except for the expressways.
Oh, yeah, well, you're not gonna find us.
Yeah.
We like trails, trails.
But roadways,
Not roadways, we don't really care for roadways, but
other roadways, but not the expressways.
nope. If you see a horse on an expressway, there is something wrong and you need to call 911. If there's a saddle horse on the roadway, there's something even worse going on. Please call 911.
In the middle of the Dalton Park, would a picnic table be good in that meeting place? Instead of
We
just a
would
bench out there?
Love that. That would be awesome.
That would be wonderful.
Because that is kind of like, I call it the first meetup spot.
Mhm.
You know, because it's the first open area you come to when you go into using the entrance of the trail to get to.
I think I know the spot that you're talking about where it's got 5 different.
Yeah, it's like a roundhouse of trails that lead out of that area.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know right where it is.
It's a nice to stop and take a break.
Cool. I've got that written down.
Okay, we have any other board or public comments?
The only, to go back to the charter for the Berry Junction Trail, the only other, thing that I can think of to look up is maybe planning commission notes from the time that was approved. Because you would have had to have a variance maybe, or a special permit for that trail to go in. And at the time, if I recall, Elizabeth Letter was on the planning commission, and she was one of the equestrians that moved to have the Dalton Horse Park created as a park. And so perhaps she would have said that in Dalton Township equestrians were permitted. She may have.
Yeah, I didn't look through the planning commission notes, so I didn't see any in the boxes themselves, but now we've digitized a lot of stuff, so I should be able to search it and see if anything comes up.
I don't know if I noted either, but the reason why the Fred Meyer Berry Junction Trail is so important to this system is that Dalton, you can access that bike trail from the Dalton Horse Park.
Any other comments? Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
It'd be fun to shoot down an adjournment at some point.
But wait, there's more.